Hey guys, welcome back for another video. So we've got a project watch here. Little quick backstory. This is about 25 years old. This was purchased new by me. Every watch I have, I purchase new. I've never sold a watch. I've killed some watches. I've thrown some watches out, but I've never sold a watch. I've never bought a used watch. So they tend to go in drawers and get packed away and forgotten about, and that's exactly what happened to this guy here. Now, this is a Citizen Eco Drive chronograph. It's a cool watch. I wore the heck out of this, as you'll be able to tell from the wear here shortly. It's got a solar panel underneath the dial and a capacitor inside, which is like a long-term rechargeable battery. A full charge can last for over 6 months without seeing any sun. And it's, of course, quartz and computer driven. It's got all kinds of cool functions: perpetual calendar, stopwatch, alarm, all kinds of cool stuff in there. But it doesn't work because about, I don't know, 17, 18 years ago, I put it in one of my jewelry cases in the dark and forgot about it. The problem is when you leave it in a discharged state for more than, I don't know, probably a couple years, the capacitor dies. The chemistry of it, it's a lithium ion cell, does not tolerate a zero charge for long, and it goes kaput. So you got to replace it, and it's very much like replacing a watch battery. I've got one here. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly which product to buy because you have to correlate the case number, which is on the back, and I'll show you that in a bit, with a particular battery. Now, you've got a Citizen part number, and there's multiple Citizen part numbers because some have been superseded, and then you have a actual battery number, and that's printed on the top of the capacitor. And I'm going to use battery and capacitor interchangeable here because I don't know, I would call it a rechargeable battery cell. A capacitor to me is a fast discharge device, and this is definitely not a fast discharge device. I'm just going to call it whichever one at the moment. But the point is, there's a number on top of your cell here. So what I did is I went on Amazon and just searched for that number and then looked through all the product listings for works with this case number. And each listing will have a whole bunch of different case numbers, and you just find one that works for you. And then of course verify with the picture. Now the reason it has a Citizen number and a battery number or cell number is because this is an assembly. There's a little metal tab welded to the bottom of there, and that is for the negative ground inside the watch to connect, and you'll see that when I pull the old one out. So it's not just a cell like a regular battery coin going into the watch. There's actually a piece on there, and that's part of the assembly. So that's what this number designate, not the actual number on there. Anyway, this was like 12 bucks, but it was on the slow boat from China, actually Japan, and took like a week and a half. So that's what I've been waiting for. Now, usually when you open a back of a watch for a battery replacement or capacitor in this case, you do want to replace or at least re-grease the O-rings, or the gaskets as they're called. And that's what I'll be doing here. Now, I am not planning on replacing this, at least I hope not, because it's original and it's never been messed with, so re-greasing should work. And it's just pure silicone grease. You can get special ones that have a sponge built in, and you can lay your gasket in there and just kind of dab it and it applies it for you. Or you can just get a cheaper jar of 100% silicone grease and do it yourself. It's about half the price and this will last forever. The reason I'm not planning on replacing it is because these are known to be very long-term rubber O-rings. And I'm going to check it, of course, but if there's any pliability problems, cracking, etc., I'll have to order one of those and wait, and you won't be seeing this video for a while. But that's usually not the case. The Eco Drives are usually good to go. Now, talking about wear. This was my daily driver for a long time, and the top of the band here especially, I can't remember what I was doing that would put this kind of wear just on the top, but it's there. I mean, it's all beat to hell. I couldn't tell at first if all three of these were supposed to be polished or if some were brushed, but they are indeed supposed to all be polished. The clasp here isn't too bad, just a whole lot of random scratches, so it does have kind of a brushed look, but that's supposed to be polished as well. You can see under here it's just grimy and dirty. Oh, and that's the other thing. I wish I had thought about this way before I started doing the video, because I have already significantly cleaned this under the tap with soap and water. It was grimy, black, and dirty, and I had started to use my skewers here to actually scrape off some of the black. You can see some of it still impregnated on the wood. I mean, it was all over the place, but then I thought, duh, I make videos for a living. This would probably be interesting to people, but it was too late. I already got most of the surface gunk off. However, there is still a ton left. In between the links, it's still grimy and dirty. It's not so bad that it's kinking or gritty or anything like that, but you can see it. So I've got an ultrasonic cleaner. We're gonna take it apart, at least partially, stick the band in there at least. I'm not planning on taking the actual movement out or anything like that. There are no scratches on, I'm assuming it's sapphire. We're just going to take the back off, and I'll show you where to find your case number here. So there's a whole bunch of numbers on your back. If you look for a series of 4 dash and then another series of numbers right here. Let's make sure you guys can see it right there. So it says E810 dash blah, 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 blah. The E810 is your case / movement number. That's what you want to correlate to what capacitor you need. So that's going to tell you what the guts are and what it takes. That's the only thing you need to know. And you'll find that one battery works with like 50 different movement or case numbers, because they have a crap ton of them. They've only got a few capacitor models, but a crap ton of actual watch models. So the first thing we need to do here is take off the band so that we can have some room. And because I'm going to put it in the cleaner, I'm going to actually remove it from the watch itself. And I apologize if there are some focus issues here. I'm using a Panasonic, and it's great in manual focus mode, which is all I ever use for my other videos, but its autofocus is temperamental, to say the least. So I'm trying to alter my filming techniques where it works pretty well for you guys, because manual does not work in this type of shooting. So I've got one quick release pin here, and that'll allow us to just take the bracelet apart. I'm going to save that pin. And then here, now if I wasn't cleaning it, this is all we would need to do. Just have access here to the back. It is a screw-on back. And I'll put links to all the little tools here I'm using. They are all inexpensive. I mean, I'm talking $5 to $15, even for this really cool, I'm not even going to call it a basic toolkit. It's got tons of stuff in here for everything you need to do for truly basic work to stuff that is beyond what I want to do. This was just a couple bucks. This is basically just a rubber ball, but it's real sticky, and it's actually used for removing screw-on case backs. It works fantastically. This, like I said, it was 12 bucks, but you're not going to need that unless you're actually doing this. Everything, it's just super cheap to do this kind of stuff. Even polishing cloths. This is what I'm going to use to get out all the scratches that I can from the case. But we're going to do cleaning. Even the ultrasonic cleaner, got it on a Black Friday sale. It's 20 bucks. Okay, enough of that. What we have here are exposed pins. So we're not going to use our normal little fork tool. We can just use our solid tool. Give that a poke. Which side it was want? I always like one side better than the other. And now we can see it sticking out on the end. Not quite far enough to grab yet. Just kind of give it a wiggle. There we go. Little pliers can be helpful as well. Yeah, my fingers won't grip it. I'm going to very carefully just grip it with these, slide the pin out. Now to get these pins out of the bracelet, one side of them has a slit cut. So it looks like this, and when you drive it into the watch, it pushes them together so it stays nice and snug. You want to drive that part out. So what you need to do is carefully look down in here, look at each end, and basically one side is going to look solid, and the other side you either won't be able to see if you can see it, or it's going to look like a screw. So I can't quite see down in there, but I can see that this side is the solid side. So that's the side that we want to drive through. There we go. So now we can just pull it out because it doesn't have that slotted end, you know, furling out. See the underside of there? Focus, there we go. Look how gritty that is. I've already cleaned in here. You can see down in there, see that black gun? That was completely covering the inside of the bracelet, not just in the clasp. So we can take this apart, of course. This is the micro adjustment on the bracelet. It's a very comfortable bracelet. I don't remember what I paid for this, not much. Maybe, I'm guessing 200. That would have been a lot for me back then in my 20s. So I can't imagine paying much more than that for it. So we'll just get that out of the way. Save that pin. Yeah, so you can see the gunk in between the links. Focus. There we go. We'll get that cleaned up. Now here, if you ever need to remove a link, which I will also be doing, because I forgot to show you, since I was wearing this, I've lost a ton of weight and I need to remove a full link. These arrows indicate which way to drive the pins here. Now I've got the watch itself. First thing we're going to do is open it up. Actually, the first thing I'm going to do is put these on. I thought these were the stupidest thing I've ever seen when I first saw them being used. And I didn't realize why they're actually cool. They're called finger cots. They make holding and gripping parts insanely easy. I mean, it's like Spider-Man super glue for dealing with tiny little screws and pins. I mean, it's not even funny how easy it is. You know, you can pick stuff up yourself. It gets slippery, right? Now with these, I mean, it's cake. Just give it a little pressure and off she comes. This should not be on, no screw on back, should be on super tight. If it is, I mean, it's like one of those mechanics that puts your wheel back on with an impact gun for a minute. These should come off pretty easily. There are other tools. This kit has this very common one with adjustability. You put a certain type of tip in here to match the cutout, whether it's a square or a triangle or a circle or whatever. You adjust this back here, spreads these two apart, and then you turn the handle to adjust the third one and you lock it in. I mean, if it's super tight, that's what you have to do, but that's not the way it should be. So let's take a look at what we have. Now, looking online, I knew what cell this was supposed to have by the case number. So, all right, right here. And by the way, I'm going to be using tweezers to take the old one out because it's already dead. Doesn't matter. Do not touch the new one with your bare hands or any kind of metal instrument because you can easily short it out, and then you're gonna have to buy another one. And the oils on your hands, just like touching an HID bulb, they will also eventually start shorting it out and corroding. So handle the new one only through gloves or finger cots. So we've got a retainer on here. We're just I'm gonna hold the end here in case it wants to spring. Slide it out of its groove. Oop, yeah, it does want to fly. It is very, very thin metal. So we're just going to set that aside. And then you can see the part here, and it does indeed say Panasonic MT920 Japan, positive to the top. And this right here is the hole, a little slot, is where that tab is going to fit in. So I'm just going to carefully pry it up, if it will come up. There we go. So there we go. You can see the original tab on the bottom. And let's go ahead and put in the new one. Now this probably won't start working right away. Depends on how much charge is in this particular cell. Citizen does have a chart for how long charging is supposed to take, under what light conditions and all that kind of good stuff. You can speed it up by pulling out the crown to the last position. That will stop movement and let it recharge faster. It's like turning off your phone before you put it on the charger. All right, here we go. Verify, almost put that in my bare hand. Let's verify it's the right one. It is. All right, so we're gonna carefully put that in using our fingers. Get that down in there. So now we're just gonna put this little retainer spring back in. It goes right there in that little slot. Carefully hold it down and slide it back into its keeper on the other side. Okay, now let's flip it over. See if we have any kind of movement right away. Nothing yet. Let me blast it for a minute here under my bright light. And we have life. Took about 10 minutes under my LED lamp here. Looks like it's even got enough charge to run fairly normally, because we don't have the second hand jumping in 2-second increments. It is running with what's considered full charge. So, good. That's just all I needed to know before we go ahead and continue. So we've got the gasket here, and it is in good condition. It's very pliable, just feels like a brand new rubber band. No cracks, no irregularities, no nothing. So what I'm gonna do is simply put a little grease on it. I'm just gonna run this through the little blob here. You don't want any kind of grease hanging off of it. You just want literally a surface film. What's next? Well, we got some polishing to do. But first, I need to clean. So I guess we're gonna stick it in the ultrasonic. I've never done watch bands, watch bracelets with an ultrasonic cleaner. I've only seen rings and stuff like that done. And I've never seen anything super dirty come in or out. So I'm not sure what to expect. You guys are gonna come along with me for the ride and see what happens. So we're not gonna do anything with this guy here. We're gonna stick this in, and this in, and this in, and these two really grimy pins for good measure. Don't need that old capacitor. Okay, is there anything else I need to throw in? Nope, that's it. Let's do it. Here's the cleaner, super simple, plenty of room in there. It's big enough for a pair of sunglasses, and certainly deep enough for any kind of watch or rings or anything like that. I used a little bit of this gem and jewelry cleaner concentrate for ultrasonic cleaners, and the rest is just regular old water. And we're gonna run it for its max, which is 480 seconds. And we're stopped. Let's take a look here real quick, see if there's anything obvious we can see with our eyes. So that looks pretty good. Let's see how it did in between. That's where it was really dirty. Oh, okay. Let's check out the other side here. That's where I noticed it more. Yeah, that actually did a really good job. Let's check the other one here. I'm impressed. I thought I'd have to scrub more of that out. I'm still gonna give it a once over with the brush. Let's check the bottom here. Yeah, see, that's what I figured wouldn't really come out as well. Still a lot of caked in stuff there. Maybe I'll run it through one more cycle. All that down in there and see what happens. I'll leave it flipped over this way. Not sure if there's a better orientation, up, down, if it matters. I did notice, just looking in there while it was running, that these got pretty clean. I mean, they were really black and dirty. Still a little bit of a smudge on that one, but it's a lot better than it was. All right, so I'm just gonna leave those like that and see what happens. The important thing is that anything you put in there is fully submerged. So let's run that again. See what happens this time. Okay, that's 2 full 8-minute cycles. Let's take a look. That's a lot better. Yeah, buddy. Okay, I'm just gonna pass the brush over it. I mean, there's nothing left to really do. That did a great job. Holy mackerel. Now I don't know how much to attribute to the actual concentrate, or if plain water would do anything better. The water is very slick. Feels kind of like detergent, but it's not soapy. But whatever it is, that combo worked. All right, I'm gonna dry these out, get them ready for some polish work. Now stepping back, you can see how dirty the water got. So let's take a look under the lights here. Super impressed. That did a great job. Now we can just concentrate on the actual damage. Now that we have a nice clean surface to start working with. You can see what the original polish was. I know this is just a cheap stamp part here on the clasp, but this is the original polish that all the end links and even this little snap here originally looked like. So actually this might have like a brushed or matte finish to it. I don't even see the sides here with any kind of polish. So that, I'll hit it with the polish paper, but that may be a different surface than here as far as the way it came at least. And we got this one here. This is a really beat up part. This is what I'm really interested to see what happens with that polishing cloth. Now I do have a Dremel and I do have polishing wheels, but not everybody does, and that's a lot more expensive than a little bag of polishing cloths that are just a few bucks. So I'm gonna give these a shot. Nothing feels really deep. I can't feel any of the scratches, but obviously it's got a ton of them. And then this last part here, man, I can't tell. See, okay, this is polished on the side. So this was originally polished, but not the little piece here. So that kind of gives you like a two-tone, right? The way it fits in. Okay, I get that. So I'll just hit this, get off the surface scratching, but I'm not gonna try to make it look like a mirror. This I will, however. This originally, these two parts here were polished just like these sides. So that's good to know. And then the underside's matte, leave that alone. And this part that actually goes under the fold part, matte as well. And then the pins, got them super clean, just like new, just for the quick wipe of the brush afterwards, but the machine did all the work, really. I'm gonna button this up first before I do anything, because I'm not gonna do anything more with the insides, nothing else to do. Just going till I feel some resistance. So now it's just finger tight, and boom, there we go. Here's what we're going to use for polishing. This is a small bag of polishing cloth. Now what we have is basically some fiber material impregnated with polishing compound. Now polishing works by damaging. It introduces scratches, and it's just Once you get to a small enough point, those scratches are small enough where it becomes like a mirror finish. If you use a rougher grit, such as 3M cleaning sponges, the rougher side, you get a brushed finish. So I could use one of those and very quickly give this a brushed metal finish if I wished. All right, let's pull out one of the cloths here. And the only reason you want to cut it down is so you don't waste this material. Just cut yourself a piece big enough to easily and comfortably hold on to. If this were done on a wheel, this whole thing would be done in 5 minutes. I don't know how long this is going to take because it depends on how deep these scratches go. So literally just pick a place. When you're doing a brushed finish, what you want to do is always go back and forth in the same line. So if you were doing this bracelet, for example, you'd do this and only this. No circles, no side to side, only the same plane when you're doing a brushed finish, or it looks like just scratches, right? With fine polishing, it makes no difference because it's going to come out mirror-like. Doesn't matter how you do it, swirlies, this way, that way. Get in wherever you have to get in. I think we are about done. I am on my second piece. First one lasted about 5 minutes, but it was just too much to take out for the one to last. So we're pretty much through this second one just for this one piece of bracelet. That was the hard part. I'm going to continue on and finish the rest. We just got this and just a tiny bit along the sides of that to do. And then we can put it back together. And here's our result. This came out great for just a little work and a few bucks. I give it a quick rinse, got to dry it off a little bit better before I reassemble. So the only thing I didn't hit real hard was this little part of the clasp that says Citizens, because it's not supposed to be polished. But now we've got, look at, much more even mirror finish now between what this is and what this was. That's an amazing transformation. Look at this. Almost back to new. Didn't have to do a whole lot here. That came out great. And I didn't forget that I need to remove a link, but I need to reassemble it to see where the clasp falls on my wrist. If it's to one side or the other, I'll know which side of the bracelet to remove one from to kind of keep it as centered as possible. Oh man, that looks so good. I don't remember it. I don't remember it looking this polished ever. That's nice. All right, so you can see that we've got a lot of slack here. So let's see where it sits. Put it even on my wrist. Flip it around. All right, so we can remove one from the top side. That'll keep it centered. So we've got the arrows. They're gonna come out that way. So this will be our extra odd man out. Tad too loose. I'm gonna try that nearer micro adjustment slot. That might just do the trick. If not, we can take one more link and adjust back to the start of the micro adjustment. But I think this is going to be all that's needed. It's really close. I can tell by the way it goes over my hand as I'm putting it on if it's really close or not. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. No discomfort moving the wrist, and it doesn't move at all. Got a little bit of slack in there. No hair pulling. Oh yeah, I'm happy. Oh look, and it's running. So there you go. Totally easy way to clean, polish, rejuvenate, get any watch back up to standards. Everything's in the description if you want to tackle it yourself. Hope it helps. Stay tuned for more vids. Let me know if there's something special you want to see, or if, you know what, if you've got a watch that you want me to do something like this on, I'm happy to help out. See ya.